All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going through a series of video presentations to kind of correspond with the Microsoft.com ASP.NET Getting Started with ASP.NET MVC5 series. I'm up to presentation 10 of 11. So far I have done the getting started, adding a controller, adding a view, adding a model, creating a connection string and working with SQL Server Local DB, accessing your model's data from a controller, examining the edit methods and edit view, adding search, adding a new field. So we're up to lesson 10 of 11, adding validation. When we get done, we'll do the getting start. When we're done with adding validation, we'll do the examining the details and delete methods. So, adding validation. Notice one thing we talk about is keeping things dry. DRY is an acronym that stands for don't repeat yourself. All right? So in this section, as it says here, we will add validation logic to our movie model, and we will ensure that the validation rules are enforced anytime a user attempts to create or edit a movie using the application. Again, I already mentioned DRY is don't repeat yourself. You've also heard it is do not repeat yourself. ASP.NET MVC encourages you to specify functionality or behavior only once and have it used as many times as necessary in the application. This reduces the amount of code you need to write. It makes your code easier to maintain. Thus, it makes it less error prone. The validation support provided by ASP.NET MVC and the EF code first is an example of the DRY principle in action. As the author says there, you can declaratively specify validation rules in one place, that being the model class, and then the rules will be enforced everywhere in the application. Let's take a look at how you can take advantage of this validation support in the movie application. So, adding validation rules to the movie model. Let's begin by adding some validation rules. Before we even do that, let's do this. All right, let's do this. Let's run this. This is not in the presentation. I'm just running it because I wanted to show you something. So when this comes up, which it will eventually, all right, so once it comes up, okay, I'm going to move over to movies. Eventually. All right. Now you'll notice again here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields, right? Okay, let's think about what kind of validation we'd want to do. Well, for title, probably, two things come to mind. Number one, is it a mandatory field? Does something have to be in there? It would make sense to me that something would have to be in there, whatever it is, that something would have to be in there, right? That, like I said, that makes sense to me. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, well, do we have are we going to put in a size in there? So in other words, it can't be bigger than a certain size. All right, that's another thing then to think about. All right. Release date. Well, maybe we want to say that the first movies occurred in 1900. I don't know when they started. How about this? Let's look. When was the first movie ever released? All right, and it says 1895. So what we could do is we could come in here and say, as an example, the release date had to be between January 1st, 1895, and maybe we'd even go up to December 31st, 2020, something like that. Okay? The genre, again, if we're going to add a genre, probably the only things we have to worry about again are, it's possible there'd be a new genre. We've only got, what, romantic comedy in here, comedy, and Western. Notice the romantic, I didn't put that in. That was in that seed file. But we might have a sports movie, we might have a documentary, etc. So we might have a size constraint. There has to be something, and it has to be a certain size. The price, maybe we've got a minimum price of $1.99. Maybe the most expensive one we have is $99.99, something like that. All right? And the rating, we may have a list. We may have different things for that also. So those are things that, as a developer, it's your responsibility for thinking about stuff like that. That's all I wanted to mention to you. All right? Now, you'll begin by adding some validation. Open up the movies.cs file. Notice the namespace does not contain system.web. Data annotations provides a built-in set of validation attributes, okay, that you can use. Now, update the movie class to take advantage of the built-in required. Replace the movie class with the following. Before we do that, let's take a look at what's in there. We're saying that the title has to be between 3 and 60 characters. The release date, looks like we're not putting anything else on there. The genre can be up to 30 characters, and it looks like it can only have upper and lowercase letters. The currency, so the amount has to be between $1 and $100. Well, I had used 99 cents and 99.99. Pretty much the same difference. The rating has to be 5 characters. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to update the movie class. I'm going to replace it with this. So let me grab, in fact, let me not even do that. Let me just grab everything within the curlies of public class movie. Copy that to the clipboard. Come back to here. Let's find our movie.cs. That should be under models. All right. So there it is right now. And we are about to go in and replace that. I want to make sure I'm replacing the right one. Open the movie.cs file, which is what we have. Update the movie class to take advantage, etc. Replace the movie class with the following. So I want, again, everything that's within here, and I'm going to replace it with this. All right. Again, the string length attribute sets the maximum length of a string, and it sets this limitation on the database. Therefore, the database schema will change. All right. This is something I'd actually mentioned to you earlier. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to first save. Then I like to do this. You don't have to. But I'm going to come in here. Before I open this, I'm going to right mouse click and choose refresh, which usually makes that X there go away. I'm going to go to tables, and I'm going to open up my movies table, but I'm going to open up the table definition. And what I want to do in here is take a look, and what you'll notice is that right now the title, the genre, and the rating, and you'll see them in a minute, they're all set to max. All right, there's the title, there's the genre, there's the rating. They're all set to a size of max. We're going to use migrations to update the schema for us. All right, so again, these are all three set to max, max, max. So we can close that. All right, I'm going to go down into my package manager, and I'm going to say add migration data annotations. I think I spelled everything correctly. System is always good enough to let me know if I didn't. Once this comes up, back, hopefully soon. There we go. And I get my prompt back. Then I want to update. Why I keep typing update? Update hyphen database. All right. When this command finishes, hopefully it's going to open up that annotations thing that's in here again. And notice what it's showing us as far as what we have here. Well, there it's going, running the seed method again. But now it's saying 65, etc. All right. So it has made those changes. All right, let's go back again. Let me make this smaller because we don't need that much room for it. Let's go back again into our movies and let's again open the table definition. And you'll notice a few things. You can already see them here. But now it's 60, 30, and 5. All right, and also previously the genre was set as nullable. It no longer is. We can have no title and no rating. I don't know why you do that, but that's the way they've set it up. So again, the ratings field now has a maximum length of 5. The title has a maximum length of 60 and a minimum length of 3. The range on the price did not contain did not create any schema changes. The validation attributes, as mentioned on the bottom of page 4 of the corresponding handout here, as it says, they specify behavior that you want to enforce on the model properties they're applied to. Required and minimum length, basically says that it must have a value, but there is nothing that presents a white space from being in there. So when you use regular expressions and you put A through Z, upper or lower case, that limits the characters to just letters. In other words, white space, numbers, special characters, etc. are not allowed. The string length attribute, as mentioned here, lets you set a maximum length of a string and optionally a minimal length. Value types like decimal, etc. are inherently required and don't need the required attribute. You've seen that before. If we leave a price off, we're going to get an error message, for example. Okay? Code first ensures that the validation rules specified are enforced before the application saves the changes to the database. It says, for example, the code before will throw an exception. Because what's missing? Well, the price, the genre are both missing. All right. Having validation rules automatically enforced by the .NET framework helps make your application more robust. It also ensures you can't forget to validate something and inadvertently let bad data into the database. I have mentioned this before. You'll hear it from me again, especially if you take more and more classes from me, and that is the fact that the most important part of any company is its data. Sorry, if you work for a company and you say I'm more valuable than the data, that's not true. Sooner or later, you will leave the company. You'll either age out, you'll decide to go somewhere else, the company will decide to replace you, whatever it is. But that data will remain. If this was an actual movie store, all right, if this was an actual movie store, they'd have turnover in the number of people who work there. But the movie inventory you'd probably add to it. Maybe if movies got old, bad, or whatever or weren't selling, you might remove them. But that inventory remains. So run the application again and navigate over to the movie's URL. And once we do, click the Create New, fill out the form with some invalid values. So try to make everything invalid. See if we get this. So I can close this now. I can close this. I can close this. And we'll leave these two open for now. All right. Okay, so let's jump back. And let's go to our movies page. All right. We'll click the Create New button once this comes up. And we're going to try to put in everything that you see right here. I'm going to put it in exactly the same. And then we're going to see if we get the same error messages. Alright, so I'm going to create new and put in the same stuff that they put in. Go, which is too small of a field. Alright, ABC for the date, which it won't even let me put in. Just leave it as it is. How's that? Genre, we'll leave blank. Price, we'll put in something that's too expensive. Rating, we'll put something that's too big. And click Create. Alright, so what did we get? The field title must be a string with a minimum length of 3 and a max. That's right. The release date field is required. That's right. The genre field is required. That's right. The field price must be between 1 and 100. That's right. The field rating must be a string with a maximum length of 5. Looks good. Let's go back to the list. We won't put that in. So all of those checks worked. That's always a good thing. To support jQuery for non-English locales, we're not, again, going to worry about that. All right? Notice how the form has automatically used a red border color to highlight the text boxes that contain invalid data and has emitted an appropriate validation error message next to each one. These are enforced both on the client side using JavaScript and jQuery. Remember, jQuery is a JavaScript library, and server side, just in case the user has disabled JavaScript. A benefit here is that you don't need to change a single line of code in the controller class or in the create.cshtml to enable this validation logic and have it run. The controller and views created earlier automatically picked up the validation rules that were specified by using validation attributes of the movie model class. Okay? The form data is not sent to the server until there is no client-side validation errors. All right? Okay. How validation occurs in the create view and create action methods is next. I am approximately halfway through this. So I think, again, because I'm around the 20-minute point, that what I am going to do is I'm going to break this, as I did the previous one, into 2 lessons, and I will come back and finish this lesson up in just a couple minutes.